Okay. Okay, you guys. I was not planning to go live tonight. Um, because let me see. I was not planning to go live tonight. Because it's Labor Day weekend and I was running around with family, but because of everything happening, on Ready to Love, Tequila hit me and was like, "You need to go live. You need to go live." And so I said, "You know what? Let me go ahead and jump on here and talk to the people, talk to the people a little bit about last night's episode of Ready to Love." So I'm gonna hold on a few seconds and let some more people get in the room. Hey Sharon, hey Marquita, you guys drop an XO in the chat if you can hear me. I'm gonna go ahead and I also have a clip that I want to talk about. So I want you guys to let me know if you can. Um, if you can, hey Michelle, if you can hear me, put an XO in the chat. Thank you so much. Um, check the live because I'm on. Hey Keisha in love. Hey. I know we gotta talk. We gotta talk. I was like, you know what? I was trying to wait, and I want to talk about just this entire conversation about you guys. I know it sucks, but we're gonna have to talk about colorism. We're gonna have to talk about colorism because of what happened. Not what's just happening already to love, but also what is happening on Love and Hip Hop. And it just continues to be a part of the conversation. So I'm like, we're going to have a real no holds barred conversation about it. I'm not going to go all off into it tonight, but I've actually asked some of the ladies from Ready to Love and a couple other reality shows to come on and talk about it because it's not going anywhere. And things are deep. Like I want to read you guys before we get into tonight's conversation. And I also want to pull up, you guys, hold on. I want to pull up this clip. I want to pull up this clip from Friday's episode that was not seen. On the show. This was not, they didn't play this on the show, but this is a own clip. And this, I gotta play the clip because I want us to talk about what the hell is happening and what are producers allowing to happen and how does that affect everything else. Hey Tequila, thank you so much for that reach out a little earlier. I've been running around with family today. Um, but yeah, I want to read you guys a couple of comments that came in on my page. Today I posted, you can go to this YouTube page, and I posted one of the clips. Three, no, that's not it. I posted one of the clips from yesterday's episode, right? And I want to read you guys what one of the comments was because I want us to talk about this. This like threw me off that a Black woman would actually say this, but I feel like that's why I'm like, we have to talk about colorism because we just gonna have to have the conversation. And I want to have a group of women here so that we can have it in a way that it actually does justice to the conversation, but we can't. Okay, Danny, I'm sorry. It was supposed to happen Friday night, and I just had family come in unexpected, which I'm happy to see. And so I apologize. You guys know I usually do them every Friday night, but this Friday I didn't want to have a guest because I wanted to be able to talk freely. And when I have a guest, I can't really talk freely because I don't want them to be upset, right? I don't want them to feel like they have to pick a side or say something that they're not comfortable saying. And so I wanted to just be able to say what I really think and just go in without them feeling like they're a part of it. So no, seriously, I definitely need to do that. But I wanted to get on tonight because this comment, I want you guys to give me your feedback on what you think. I really was shocked that someone left this comment. Now we know, I should play the you know what? Let me pull the clip because I'm gonna go ahead and play the clip, and then I want to tell you guys what was said after this clip played. So this is a problem to me because, as you guys know, I am a Black woman that talks to Black women and has this site. We talk to these people we talk to the Ready to Love or different reality stars, and so for another Black woman to post this This was crazy to me. But you know, I think it is an opportunity for us to have an uncomfortable conversation that obviously is overdue. If you guys are just tuning in, I'm saying that we're gonna have to talk about color. Like we're gonna have a real conversation about it, not a cute conversation about it, but a real conversation about it because it keeps coming up. And with things like this, the situation that we see with Erica Mena and Spice that are on Love and Hip Hop, which I don't really talk about Love and Hip Hop, but I live in Atlanta, so I'm very, very familiar and I know what's going on with that cast. So I just feel like we need to get into this. But I want to play this clip. Hold on, you guys, give me 2 seconds. I'm going to play this clip first, and then I'm going to read you guys a statement that was made on my YouTube channel after I played this clip. And it's surprising to me because I just feel like it shocked me that somebody would feel that way, right? So, all right, I'm going to play this clip. I'm going to come back, and then I'm going to read you guys the comment that made me say, okay, we got to have a real conversation. Let's check this out.
Why are you naked? I leave you for
Girl,
5 minutes.
bucket naked.
You don't have no clothes on.
Janelle is always somewhere close lurking.
Pull a chair up somewhere.
Yeah, hang out with us, Janelle. You know I don't mind sharing. Well, girl, you're not. He's mine, so. Is he though? I don't mind sharing for this moment.
I can never have a full conversation with this man without her having something slick to say.
Who you spoken for?
Absolutely.
Does everybody else know that? Don't matter. He know it.
It's weird. It's given like blink if you need help, Quentin, because at this point, child, he is in a sunken place, honey. Get out. Get out.
I'm gonna get another drink. Girl, bye.
Okay. All right. So actually, the comment that was left on my page was removed because it got a lot of negative comments. But basically, a young lady came on the page and said that Ready to Love should not cast brown skin or darker skin women. In Dallas, they should have cast more light skinned women because that's what the men wanted. And so I responded, that just makes me sad that a Black woman would say that, because if we're saying that we should have less diversity, then what are we doing? We're moving backwards, right? Why wouldn't the solution be to cast men who appreciate the diversity that African American women are, right? Why wouldn't we cast both? Cast men that appreciate diversity in Black women and Black women that appreciate diversity in Black men. It's so interesting that we never have these conversations when it comes to Black men. We never want to talk about the fact that, you know, there are a lot of women that prefer certain skin tones or sizes or whatever, but women are supposed to just go ahead and take whatever they can get, right? But men, a woman actually said, and she deleted it, and I wasn't going to read her name because I wouldn't do that, but I just feel like it was crazy that she said on the show they should cast more light-skinned women this season because that's what the brothers were into. That is a problem. Now, Tamasha, you're right. It's sad, and we've touched on colorism. I need to have Denise back on here from Houston. That, you know, a lot of people had an issue with her because of what she said, and she claimed what she claimed, and she mentioned colorism, and a lot of people had a problem, you know, with what she had to say. However, every season we keep dealing with the same exact thing, and it's not just Ready to Love, but it's also other shows. If you haven't seen on Instagram and on social media, Mona Scott allegedly, I don't have confirmation on this because this all just happened within the last like 48 hours. Erica Mena, who is Latina, basically called Spice, who is Jamaican, a blue monkey because Spice has blue hair. And there was a statement released that said that Love and Hip Hop was letting her go. Now, I want to say that is the epitome of what we're fighting against. Unfortunately, with Love and Hip Hop, it's a little bit, it's kind of a double-edged sword, because Spice did start the argument by saying something about Erica's child. So you guys know that our mothers, that brings out a mother bear energy. But also, I think, there's a saying that goes, a drunk mind speaks a sober heart. And I think when people get angry, you get a chance to see what they really think and how they really feel. And it was not surprising for me to hear a Latina that is often receives preferential treatment in our community, not their community, but our community, to call her a monkey. So, anyway, going back to Ready to Love, this season, off off camera, right? I have talked to so many cast members, male and female, from Ready to Love, that has stated that Janelle's personality. Janelle was bullying the other cast members. She was being hateful to the other cast members. You guys know I try to keep this space very neutral, and I have invited everyone to come on to the show to give their opinion. But literally, like I said, this is coming from men and women, right? There are men that have come on the show, and afterwards, when I'm talking to them, either after or before, they have confirmed that this is something that they saw, right? I think that we've seen some of the men try to kind of take the high road and say, but you can tell what the underlying thing is, right? And so I just think that production needs to do a better job, because this show is on OWN, and to my understanding, OWN is a network, started by Oprah Winfrey herself, who was a very brown skinned woman. For there to be the issue of colorism on a show on OWN that goes unchecked is a problem. I'm not saying that it can't happen, because of course it's going to happen, because it's a part of our community. And yes, I'm gonna get to that, Mona. Trust me, I'm gonna get to that. Yes, we are. Art imitates life, but I think that production needs to do something to where this is not a consistent thing and it's not accepted. It's interesting to me how this is going on and all the other casts are talking about it, and production still allowed it to continue. There is a clip, and I wasn't able to pull that one, of Janelle calling the other. She actually said, "What am I supposed to do? Not say something to these ugly ass bitches," basically. That's and at that point, I was like, wow, like, production caught that. So for all the people saying that production is um coddling her and protecting her, the fact that they allowed that statement to make it to air, when she said it under her breath, definitely shows that they weren't coddling her. They could have been setting her up. But to me, that's a huge problem. Tamasha asked, do you think colorism was seen this season more than the others? Honestly, unfortunately, I think colorism is seen every season, and I think it's two-sided. I worked on a documentary called Dark Skin that Bill Duke did. There's actually two of them, and it's a beautiful documentary just about intraracial issues, right? Intraracial issues, and colorism is one of the biggest ones. And it was a lot of brown skin and dark skin sisters talking about how they felt and how they've been treated. And you have to acknowledge that these people are not we're not creating things out of the blue. We're actually speaking to how we've been treated. I feel the same way. I'm a brown skinned woman. I definitely have dealt with colorism as well. Every show, every single reality show. If you talk about Ready to Love, you talk about Bell Collective. If you guys remember on Bell Collective, JJ and Soguchi's daughter's brown skin, and she talks about how the sisters, her stepsisters, JJ's daughters, were hateful to her because of her skin tone. It's not going away. And if we don't have real conversations about it and figure out where this is coming from, then there's not going to be any resolution. So I'm going to ask you guys to share this, because I just want to have a real conversation. I didn't want to have a cast member on for this, because I felt after this episode, with Janelle actually saying, am I not supposed to say anything back to these ugly ass bitches? Like, okay, I didn't want to put another cast member in a place to where they had to say something they didn't want to say, because that puts them in an uncomfortable position. But my perspective is, your attitude to me is such a contradiction between what you say and what you do. Okay, I'm gonna answer that question. That's a really good question, Tamasha. But I think with Janelle, what's disappointing to me is the fact that out of one side, one conversation is about being a believer and about being a Christian, and then the other side is like, I understand that we all fall short, because if I consider myself a Christian, I'm definitely not perfect. However, if you're a Christian, you know that the platform is going to be an opportunity for you to allow your light to shine. And if your light is constantly downing other women and responding in a very disgusting way to call other women ugly, there are no ugly women on that show. Everyone on that show is beautiful in their own way. They bring something else to the table. And it's not because the women are doing anything to her. It feels like she's competitive. In that scene, she went at Kat just because Kat was talking to Quentin. The whole idea of Ready to Love is people coming on this show to date multiple people. You can't label a guy and take him out of the fray. If that's the case, both of you guys need to do what Cornelius and Camille did and eliminate yourselves. If you want to label him and say, this is mine, and put a stamp on him and say nobody else needs to talk to him, then both of you guys need to get together and decide to eliminate yourself from the process. That's the right thing to do. But getting mad and saying he's mine, all that it's just ridiculous. It's absolutely ridiculous. So that's my thing with that. So hold on. Tamasha asked a really good question. Okay, so she says, what's the difference between colorism and reference? Where's the silver lining? Colorism and preference. Where's the silver lining? I think that's a good question. And I think for me, how I interpret it is, for me, I have a son, right? I have a black son, and my son has dated outside of his race. And I always said, I'm fine if you date outside of your race, as long as you can find beauty in a woman that looks like your mom, right? And he said, yeah, I'm not, but if it's a preference, then it's not, I don't like these women. This is just what I prefer. But if you don't see beauty there, if you can't find beauty, and your preference is based on systematic racism, which is judging women by European standards of beauty, right? I have weave on, Janelle has weave on, Katarina, all of us have succumbed to a certain degree to judging ourselves by European standard of beauty, because that's what we're doing. If that's why we have on weaves and we're not in our natural state. So I believe, and people may get mad at me for saying that, but I'm just being honest. If we really are 100% honest with ourselves, and we really are judging ourselves by our beauty as African American women, or women with African roots and heritage, then that doesn't come with weave. It doesn't come with extensions, right? But if you can find beauty, I'm sorry, I'm reading the comments and can't keep up. If you can find beauty in many places, but you say this is just what I personally prefer, because a preference can be overridden, right? There are people that, for myself, I had only dated brown skin or darker skin men. That was my preference. But I could look at a Boris Kojo. I know Boris Kojo is fine. I understand that, right? I understand that Rick Fox looks good. That just wasn't what I preferred to date. But I don't think they're ugly. The difference between preference and colorism is Erica Mena saying you're a monkey, right? Saying, oh, she's beautiful, right? Or she's just, you want to call her a name, blue bitch or something like that. But the fact that you call her a monkey means that you see her like that. To me, that's the difference. The difference is, preference is, I prefer this, but I can appreciate everything, or I understand the value. When I have colorism or intra-racism, then I don't see value there, because it doesn't align with the European standards that I've decided to align myself with. And that's a problem. And so many of us have self-hate. So many of us don't love who we are. I was just having a conversation with my little cousin about this earlier. Like, so many of us Black women cannot look at ourselves and love ourselves for who we are. And a lot of this comes from the fact that we're fighting this colorism battle within our own race. Another thing is, if we're just being honest, this movie, this documentary that I worked on, that I did press for by Bill Duke, it basically talked about how a lot of dark skinned girls, that the dynamic between dark skinned women and lighter skinned women, right? And I'm going to give this to you guys so you guys can look it up if you want to see it. It's really good. It's good. It's a great documentary, and he did a great job. I think it was like ahead of his time. But I actually in Dark Girls. It's called Dark Girls. I should put it in the chat. I need to put it in the chat. Yeah, Dark Girls, and then he did one called Light Girls. But in this documentary, they expose the relationship and the dynamic between brown and darker skinned women and lighter skinned women. And you guys know that Spike Lee actually touched on that. He's another person that's a trailblazer. He touched on that in School Days, right? And you had the jigaboos, and then the light brights, the girls that were very fair skinned. And we also, I don't think it's I hate saying this, but I think it's just it we have to be honest. There are so many men specifically in our community that still judge women like that. The wannabes, right? It's so many men that judge women like that. So when we say that men often prefer or choose or will pick a light skinned woman over a brown skin or dark skinned woman, that is, I believe that there's a lot of truth to that. I believe certain places are more focused on that. Like I live here in Atlanta. So you guys know in Atlanta, black is king, right? And so I don't think there's as much colorism here. I grew up in Oklahoma, right? And my mother was very fair skinned. And so I would constantly hear, why don't you look like your mother, right? But then on the other hand, I'm gonna tell you guys this, my mother, as a light skinned, fair skinned black woman, had such a negative experience with darker skinned women because of how they treated her, that she had an attitude with them, right? So it went both ways. And those documentaries talked a lot about the broken relationships. And I think we see this every season on Ready to Love. If you guys remember the second season of Ready to Love with Divine and Alexis, both of them were fair skinned women. And it seemed like everybody on the show, all the men on the show, picked them as their top initially, right? This happens over and over again, and we can't deny it and say that it doesn't, because in our community there's been a consistency that says that men see lighter or brighter skinned women as more of a trophy. Like, I think there's a lot of change, and I think that we're raising young men who see the difference and who can appreciate beauty in different places. But for so long that wasn't the case. And why wasn't that the case? Because of what they saw, what white media showed them, right? So we had Holly Berry, or different brighter skinned biracial women were considered the standard of beauty for black women. It's just recently that we see women like Viola Davis considered beautiful. That is not, we are just here. We have not been here. We have not been here for a while. This is new. So I think when we see this playing out on Ready to Love, I can't come on here with you guys and have these conversations and see it happening and not address it. Like, we have to talk about it. And so, like I said, I want to have a open conversation. If you are a part of the audience and you want to be a part of this conversation, please send me a DM on Instagram. You guys know my Instagram is at Enchanted PR. Because these stories like what you just said, Aries, I was the opposite. My mother was fair skinned, and then I was darker skinned, and people would be so, boys specifically, why don't you look like your mom? Why doesn't, because my mom had curly hair down to her behind. I had thick braids, and they did not. Yeah, they were they were black girl braids. And I wasn't getting out the pool and shrugging back like my mom did. So that was difficult. Um, because growing up, you think that I'm supposed to look like that, or that's pretty and I'm not. And I think that a lot of us take our insecurities with us onto television. And it's one thing to tell a black woman that she shouldn't be insecure, but it's another thing if you constantly show her that there's a reason for her to be insecure, because she's always going to be less than a lighter skinned black woman. Like, you have to be realistic we have to be honest about this conversation. Now, there are some people saying, see, I'm not light skinned at all. I'm definitely brown skinned. Definitely brown skin. But to me, Felicia, I just saw who that is. Hush, child. And you are fair skinned. That's one of my girlfriends from back home. But okay, so Ruth keeps asking, what does colorism have to do with Janelle? So in case you haven't been watching, um, there is a lot. I haven't read Viacom's statement yet, D Glove, but I was going to get into that later. I just was telling people, kind of giving them an update of what happened. Roots has been asking, what does the colorism conversation have to do with Janelle? And a lot of people are saying that the reason that, first of all, Janelle called all the other women on the show ugly. If you guys remember, I interviewed Aikisha from Bell Collective, and there was a conversation with Aikisha and one of the other ladies on the show that she said she called the other cast members ugly, right? Aikisha is very fair skinned. The other young lady was very fair skinned, and according to her, Aikisha called the other ladies ugly. So that is, hey Phil, that is why we're here, because people are saying that Janelle feels fair skinned privileged, and she's calling the other women unattractive because of the fact that she feels like her fair skin grants her privilege. We don't know that for sure, but we have seen this play out on Ready to Love a lot. And so it's a part of what's happening. Now, I want to play this clip because a part of what is going on, and I'm so surprised that this didn't make the show. Why this is an after show clip, I don't understand. Um, but and it's just what Miss Trey Bell says. It's extremely problematic that the men don't intervene when she says what she says. So I watched that clip earlier that I just showed you guys. Let me play that again. I'm gonna play this clip again, and then I'm gonna play the one that I just pulled. So this is the first clip. This is the clip of Janelle and Katarina and Quentin.
Why are you naked? I leave you for girl 5 minutes.
Bucket naked.
You don't have no clothes on.
Janelle is always somewhere close lurking.
Pull a chair up somewhere.
Yeah, hang out with us, Janelle. You know I don't mind sharing. Well, girl, you're not. He's mine, so is he though? I don't mind sharing for this moment.
I can never have a full conversation with this man without her having something slick to say.
Who you spoken for?
Absolutely.
Does everybody else know that? Don't matter. He know it.
It's weird. It's given like blink if you need help, Quentin, because at this point, child, he is in a sunken place, honey. Get out. Get out.
I'm gonna get another drink. Girl, bye.
Okay, I just want to play that again because the whole energy, you cannot put tabs on someone. Like I said, if you're just seeing this, if he's yours and you're not sharing and you have to act that way, then both of you guys should eliminate yourself from the show. If that's what it is. Like if you feel like you can be that hateful to other women just because she said, I don't like to share. Katarina wasn't coming from a nasty place or anything like that, but Janelle took it to that place, and it's constant, like it's consistent with what we continue to see from her, from when she said Ciara's purse was fake. Later in last night's episode, she said that all the other girls were ugly with these ugly ass bitches. So I have to stay here and not say anything to these ugly bitches. Now, this problem with that clip is Quentin did not check her, right? He did not say anything. And so to me, honestly, it looks like he's going along with her. It looks like he's okay with her behavior. It looks like he's okay with her saying that he belongs to her. It looks like he's co-signing all of that. Check out this clip and let's talk about his conversation with Janelle afterwards, and see what you guys think about this.
I feel like that's what the principle is. Like everybody can be any kind of way, but because I, have whatever personality, then it's on. Well, I'm just saying that's what gets me.
Do you feel like you were in the wrong of any of those situations?
No.
Okay. It's okay. As long as you are comfortable in who you are and what you stand for and the principle that you set forth, then why let it continue to...
I'm not letting it continue to do anything.
Good. Once you stop sighing, I know you're really...
No, just because I hate, like, the...
If you did what you did, it's over. It's done.
Bruh.
Oh, it's done. I can't change the way you felt in that moment to be able to react the way you did. The only thing I can help you change is the way you move forward right now. And I want you to enjoy this weekend getaway.
It's fine. I'll deal with it on my own process, you know.
I'm glad that you can recognize the opportunities for betterment, but it's almost not about like, oh, I need to learn how to let things go. No.
Well, some things, yes.
Some things, yes, but in the moment you react how you react because of the things that you stand for and the person that you are. But the only thing that you can surely get better at is how you remove afterwards.
Yeah.
Okay. So I was actually pleasantly surprised to see that Quentin did not co-sign the entire thing. He actually pulled her to the side and tried to say that he wanted to help her get better at that. Um, don't click off. Don't click off, Shanna. But what concerned me was a few things about that clip. First of all, Quentin seems like he is afraid to argue with her because when he asked her a few things before I cut it because there was so much even before that part. He said, you know, what do you think about what happened? And she immediately said, came back at him with a defensive response. And he said, okay. She said, well, no, they're just asking me to do that because I have a big personality in this. And he's like, well, and they don't what I stand for. And he's like, oh, well, if you stand for that, there's nothing. Like, he just backpedaled, like, as opposed to telling her, being honest with her and saying how you handled it was really hateful and mean. He just immediately backed off, right? And then he asked her again. He said, do you think you did anything wrong? And she said no. And he immediately backed off. And then you guys notice he was like, well, anything I can maybe help you do is maybe do it, respond differently. And she's like, yes, but she's not taking any accountability and he's not being honest with her. And so that's a problem. Like, he seemed like in their relationship dynamic, he is afraid to really be honest with her. And so that's not going to work. It almost feels like, I'm going to tell you guys the truth. I feel like they had a pact to pick each other and go to the end. And I think that's what's happening because I don't feel like there's a real love connection. They don't interact like people that are really in love. Like, and I don't even, not that you can actually be in love after this shorter period of time, but even like with Phil and Aries, like we see them touching, you see the chemistry. Chemistry bypasses the television screen, right? The cameras, and it comes to the audience and you feel it. I don't feel like they have any chemistry. I feel like it's a predetermined goal because I feel like Janelle wants to win. I feel like Janelle is on this show, and I don't think that she's really about falling in love. I think it's really about winning and beating the other girls and proving that she's better. And that's the problem. To me, that's what I see. So I don't really see a real connection between them. And I feel like, but I also don't feel like Quentin would be that big and that muscled up and that tattooed and actually be, running behind a girl that he can't talk to. I think he's just doing this on the show because it allows him to stay on the show, right? And so, but I don't think that's the type of relationship that he would really be in. I don't think he's afraid of Janelle. I think Janelle is a means to an end. I think that they have an understanding that they're going to be with each other so they can make it to the end of the show, and it's working. And that's a problem for production because cast members shouldn't be able to come on and strategize and it not work. He said that's a problem. Phil says that's a problem because she's pretty. I think there's a lot of pretty women on the show. I think that there are some women that aren't there with an ulterior motive to win. And I think Janelle's cheap shots at all the other women are really because of the fact that she sees everyone as beneath her. Now, whether that is because of skin color or whether that is because she feels like, I do know that Janelle is very well off. So I don't know if she feels like that's because she has more money than some of the other people on the show. I have heard that she kind of throws around and obviously she makes fun of, I've heard that, but it's clear. She made fun of the fact that she said Kira's purse was fake and hers was real. Like, it's silly. So I don't know if it's classism or colorism or all of that, But what we do know is that the other women on the show are not making this up. And we even see some of this happening. Now, I want to talk, I couldn't barely get off Janelle and Quinton because it was just so much with her making that statement, going at Katarina like that. And and then saying the ugly ass bitches. I was like, wow, this is like at a point where I feel like production needs to make a statement. So, speaking of the statement, I mentioned earlier the situation with Spice and Erica Mena from Love and Hip Hop. And Viacom released a statement after that statement was made. And they said the Love and Hip Hop franchise has never shied away from hard conversations in our community. Working hand in hand with our partners, viewers will see the impact of Erica Mena's remarks play out in the final 3 episodes of this season. Effective immediately, Erica will not appear in the next season of Love and Hip Hop Atlanta. So kudos to them for actually doing something and making a statement, and setting a standard. I think OWN needs to have a conversation. We're going to have a conversation on this channel, but I feel like OWN needs to have a conversation about colorism. Even if you can't necessarily say this season that's what's happening. It could just be that Janelle has a bad attitude. It could just be that she's a pretty girl with a bad attitude. But because the other women feel that, and we hear this consistently every season, we just need to address it, and where else can we address it than on the network that was started by a brown-skinned Black woman? Yeah, I think that this needs to happen because I'm tired. If we go into another season of Ready to Love with light skin playing against dark skin, I just can't do this no more. We're tired of it. We're tired of it. I think the audience is tired of it. I think it plays out in every single reality show from Real Housewives of Atlanta to Real Housewives of Potomac. Like, y'all, we gotta, somebody has got to step up and have this real conversation. Andy Cohen is not the one to do it, right? Andy Cohen tried to do that because of what was going on Potomac with Wendy Osifo and Candace Dillard and the other young ladies there. And that just didn't feel right to have a white man kind of, um, uh, coordinating and curating the discussion, moderating a discussion on colorism. Not feeling that because I don't feel like he really understands the root of it. Like, you can't really understand it unless you're us, unless you grew up like me, feeling like I was less attractive because my skin was brown, dark brown, and my mother's was very fair. And then heard myself compared. I had a girlfriend of mine who would say, well, Christal, at least you're lighter than me, because she was dark skinned. And she said every time she walks into a room, she would look and see who was the darkest in that room to see if there was hopefully someone darker than her. Like, unless you've had that experience, thank you so much, Phil. Thank you so much, Phil, for that super chat. Unless you've had that experience, you can't really speak to it. So I don't want to hear a Jewish man talk about colorism. I'm fine with the fact that he's acknowledging it's an issue, but I don't want to hear him moderating a conversation on it. I think it has to come from someone that has been a part of it. And I'm not going to lie, you guys, I don't even really want to hear men talk about it because I feel like it benefits men. I think it works to men's benefits because it pits women, women against each other. And then men are able to benefit from that. Look at what's going on with Quentin. You guys saw that clip. He's smiling. Katarina and Janelle going back and forth over him. He's in the middle. I'm not feeling it. So I feel like it has to be women having that discussion. I think it should be Black women who understand the importance and the hurt behind it. And we need to have that conversation within ourselves. Now, pivoting, hey, Felicia, pivoting off of Janelle for a second, I want to talk about the rest of the show. I was interested to see Cierra got really, it's almost like she kind of dug down and she was feeling it, like she was afraid she was going to go home because it's obvious, as we said last week, you guys, there really are no real connections there. So we saw Cierra kind of dig down and try to, you know, make the most of the situation to keep from going home, which I don't think that worked. But she had a conversation with Maurer. She also had a conversation with Phil. I think that fell on, fallow ground. But the conversation with Maurer, he even said he wished they had had that conversation before. but I don't think she's really into Maurer. Like, I think people don't want to go home. But I also think by her saying, there's a few clips out there of Cierra saying the guys didn't really have anything to talk about. Like, she didn't really get any real conversations with any of the other guys. Um, she talked about, she had a very in-depth conversation with Maurer, and he said that she was still an option for him, even though he was a lot closer to Jessica. Um, I don't think that's going to save her. I think it's too little too late. Y'all are hilarious. I think it's too little too late for Cierra. I am, with Jessica, I do understand somebody saying that they are slower when it comes to connecting, right? Physically, right? I get that. However, Ready to Love may not be the series for you. If you're slow to connect, Ready to Love may not be the series for you. So Jessica seems kind of like she doesn't care. And Maurer, even though that has been his connection, I think he's not feeling the fact that she is very standoffish. Y'all, I'm not gonna do that with y'all in the chat. Y'all are hilarious. But yeah, I think that Cierra's gonna go home. We saw that basically Cierra and Jessica are both up to bat. Either one of those, I don't think either one of them really have a real connection. I do think that Jessica probably had more of a connection with Maurer than Cierra, but I don't really see that working. That just doesn't even seem like it makes sense to me. I don't feel like there was anybody on the show Jessica was really into, except Chris, and her and Chris crashed and burned. Initially, she liked Chris because you guys remember the hoedown when she went around and took him to say goodbye to everybody, and she was kind of stamping her, stating her claim, and then they kind of went, AWOL because he felt like she was too, I don't know, he felt like he didn't get the nurturing from her, and he's real adamant about that, very vocal about that. So, you know, hey, make sure, just taking a break, make sure you guys like and share and subscribe to this conversation. I want to make sure that people are tuning in for the conversation on colorism. Yes, Desiree Own does have a great clip with Cierra and Phil having a real conversation. But I just don't think it was enough. I mean, and I feel like it was a friendship vibe conversation, even though he was like, she's dope. But I don't feel like it was really what Phil is looking for. I feel like with Aries, again, like real chemistry, you can feel it. It is not fake. Like, that looked like two friends having an in-depth conversation. Cool. Yeah, I kind of feel like Chris was going off on either Janelle or Jessica, because you guys know kind of like the behind the scenes stuff is that Janelle supposedly said that basically Chris and Christopher both, she said some things about them, I guess, behind the scenes, that people are saying that she was, responsible, or at least, mentioned that they were going to be going home, and both of them were not Chris and Marvin were on the chopping block, and Janelle made some statements. Who knows? But I also know that Janelle mentioned that Chris had a lot of growing to do, and he holds grudges, and she basically attacked him in the ladies' lounge. So I'm assuming that the only person that Chris would talk to like that would either be Jessica or Janelle, and I'm hoping it's not Jessica, because that would make things go really, really wrong. I really hope it's not Jessica, because I hope I just don't see her going that far. She doesn't seem disrespectful at all. She just seems to really be adamant about what she wants. However, Chris does keep saying that he finds her like combative. He doesn't want to argumentative. He doesn't want to go back and forth. So we'll see. Janelle was probably speaking up for Jessica, bringing the word combative up. It's so weird because people were saying, I think on this channel a couple of days ago, people were like, oh, why hasn't anyone mentioned the word aggressive when it comes to Janelle? And it's so ironic that in that clip showing the next episode, that Janelle is saying, how dare these men use this word when it comes to Black women? But it's like, Child, girl, girl, your behavior towards the other women is what? Like, I don't know. Is it Christ? Is it Christian like? Is it calling women hoes and ugly ass bitches? Like, what is it? Is it not? Is it not aggressive? What is it? I don't know what it is. Um, I don't know. I'm just confused about that. But yeah, so I think that Cierra's attempt to stay was probably going to be foiled. I don't think it was. I think it was too little, too late. I don't think Jessica. If Jessica does stay, I don't see her staying long. But what's the real question is, what guy is going to go home next? Like, what guy? It could be Chris. That could have been what that conversation was about. Chris, coming back at Jessica, and redeeming himself because maybe he was being let go. I'm not sure, but I look forward to hearing and seeing what happens next week. Let me see who we have on Monday, guys. Let me see who's on Monday and we will be here Monday at 8 o'clock, even though it is Labor Day weekend. We are still going to be on Monday. But I'm interested to know, let me see, so we can ask them all these questions about, okay, hold on. I have to look. I'll let you guys know. I'll post the flyer with who's on, but yeah, we have another castmate scheduled for Monday to come in and have a conversation. So I want to ask them all about the couples trip, which is not really giving couples. It's giving like a bunch of singles hanging out, trying to connect with no connections, except for Aries and Phil. That's the only people I want to see. I want to see them. I want to see them interact, and I don't want to see anybody else. I don't want to see Janelle cuss anybody else out. I don't want to see, and even like Katarina, I like her, but I don't really see anybody there for her. I don't really see anybody there. Like, how are we going to divvy these guys up? What are we doing? I just don't feel like there's any connections. I agree with Andromeda. Chris being on the chopping block would be wild because I do think, and I obviously, I feel like Chris and Lee would be super cute together. Um, but I just don't even know if that would really work. Like, I know Lee wants to be pursued. We all know that Lee wants to be really pursued, which she should be. Chris, I think he's into her, but I don't know if her lifestyle and his lifestyle would gel. Um, I just don't know outside of Phil and Aries where we're going. Like, will there be any other couples that go to the end? We know that Janelle and Quinton are going to say that they're at the end. They're going to pick each other, but I don't know what that's gonna give afterwards. I don't think the whole show is revolving around Janelle. I don't think that. I think that um, y'all are hilarious. I don't think that the whole show is revolving around her. I do think that production is allowing. I'll tell you what, and I know some tea. Production for this network is rewarding, bad behavior with screen time, right? Because it seems like the women that and that's pretty much our fault, as viewers, because people like to see the hype, and they want to tune in. Like, they love to hate. They love a bit of a woman they love to hate. We love it. Like, last season, people had a problem with Charisse, right? It definitely gets the viewers going and gets them excited. I think that that's a problem. And to me, Tequila, that's the problem. Production rewards. So if you act a fool and show your behind and, have little hateful things to say about other cast members, that gets the cameras engaged and that gets the viewers upset and talking, and it keeps the ratings up. So that's a problem. I agree with Kay. This show needs to be more about the love. And I don't feel like, you guys let me know what you think. I don't feel like this season we've seen any connections. I think it's all been this drama. It's been all this drama from the beginning. It just has not been, I don't see any, and we didn't even see Phil and Aries until just recently. So I don't know what the hell was happening before that, but we didn't really see, when we had the group date with the ex, that's the first time that we got a chance to really see Phil and Aries and their connection. I wish we could have seen something like that before, because we haven't really seen any people connecting. All we see is strategizing and a lot of hate, and that's a problem. So yeah, I think that's I don't think I didn't understand. I didn't see Herbert leaving. Like, that was wild to me. Like, I don't know. I don't know what Ready to Love is doing. But we have a show on Monday. The real connections were not shown. I guess. I mean, we saw Lee when she came on, she mentioned that she had a lot of connections. We didn't see any of those. I do want to say, because I interviewed Chris and Phil and Lee and Marvin, right? So if you haven't seen those episodes, those interviews, go back and watch them on the channel. Marvin and his new girlfriend are coming back on the 9th. And so we're going to have a conversation about, because there was a lot Marvin wanted to say, but he did not. And so next Saturday, he agreed to come on. So you guys definitely stay tuned for that. Make sure that you're subscribed so you don't miss that, because he's bringing his new boo. And y'all know his new boo is in the lifestyle. I'm glad. He needed to find somebody that was into all that stuff with him, and he did. And so they're both coming on. So if you have any questions about the lifestyle or just about him, and I don't understand why he would go on Ready to Love, knowing that he had such a specific desire, because no one else was going to be able to be with him outside of a woman that was into that. Yeah, Marvin is bringing his girl. I asked when he bring his girl on, and they're going to come together. So that should be fun next Saturday here. Make sure you guys are tuned in for that. But out of my conversations, I really enjoyed Chris. I thought that was crazy that Christopher, the one that had hair on the show, but he cut his hair off and he has a beard. He's a very attractive guy. The comments loved him. The chat loved Chris. His interview has like the most views out of all those four. Women loved him. Just a real country boy. I don't believe that Chris was trying to be something he's not. That was another thing that Janelle said, he was, trying to sell himself. And I don't think he was trying to sell himself. I think he just was trying to, as he said, catch up. I wasn't there, so I don't know. There may be some people that agree with that, but I liked him a lot. He was real down to earth, real honest. Definitely is successful and has a certain, type that he's looking for. But I liked him a lot. I actually liked Phil a lot as well. He was really funny and personable. Danny said, "I'm not sold on the Niger King." Hey, I thought out of everybody, honestly, like Chris was the most Christopher, not the Niger King. Chris was the most down to earth. Like, he was the most like, what you see is what you get. Chris, the Niger King, working out without a shirt off. I mean, come on, y'all. If you work out to the point where you got a 6-pack, 8-pack like that, you're gonna show it off, especially on television. I feel like people that work out like that, I'm not mad at it, but they should show it off because they put in the hard work. I think that Lee works out a lot, and she puts in the hard work, and so we see her showing off, her body as well. I'm not mad at that. I think Quentin was a little bit much with the, with the apron and the hoochie daddy shorts on, but I ain't mad at it. He looks great. He's definitely in shape, has a nice body. But yeah, I think Chris, to me, seemed the most down to earth. The Haitian Empress, y'all are a hot mess. It is hilarious. When is he going to tell us about his kingdom? Chris was very confident. I don't know, but I believe what he had to say. He was very honest. And that's one thing, like, I don't think he's lying. I don't think he was lying at all. He he's saying. Even when he said that Jessica didn't give him nurturing vibes, I appreciate that, because a lot of men will not say they will not say what they really think. They'll let a woman, they'll ghost a woman, or they'll move around without telling her why they feel that way. True Love Forever says, in an effort to entertain and create storylines, the real connections we prefer to see were not shown, like Chris and Lee, Christopher and Cierra. I agree. I think that they must have done that, but this this the viewers have the power, right? So what you guys fail to realize, I think that if enough people are complaining, like with the Housewives, all the people are complaining, they're going to make some changes, right? Even with Love and Hip Hop, and Viacom quickly coming out and making that statement. Trust and believe, if the viewers were not pissed about Erica calling her a monkey, Viacom would not have done that. They did that because they don't want to lose viewers. And I think OWN basically does not want to lose viewers. Ready to Love is a big show for OWN. And if the viewers are saying we really want more connections, we really want to see love connections, I think they'll do that. I think that the problem is, what does get views is the hype. And that's because we love to watch the hype as opposed to the reality of love. Now, I do think when there's real connection, those ratings probably soar. But in fear of there not being real connections, I think they go ahead and just go for the easy sell, which is the drama. Cookie says Jessica and Janelle are not interested in any constructive criticism. I think that would be a true statement. I really can't say that about Jessica's, because we haven't seen her say enough. We really haven't seen her say enough. Janelle looked Quentin dead in his face and said she was not to blame for anything. She saw nothing she could have done different. So obviously that's true about her, but I don't necessarily know. We don't know if Jessica feels like that or not. But it is. DC says it's hard to get invested and Ready to Love because they come out with a new season every 90 days. I think that actually keeps the viewers connected. The fact that they come out with a new series every 90 days. I like the fact that it keeps going, because if you waited 6 months, I don't think people would be really excited about Ready to Love. I think they love the new cast. I think they love the newness of moving to a different city. But I will tell you this, that's also why people that are on Ready to Love have to know that this train that you're on is coming to an end, because as soon as the new season starts, people no longer are concerned about what was going on with the previous season. So whatever walkthroughs, whatever interviews you can get, go while the going is good, because it's going to come to a complete stop, once they start up, because they do them so often. I think the social media lift has spoiled it. Could be. I also think this, guys. I think that the fact that a lot of these people are recruited to the show means that they're not really looking for love. Love was looking for them. Ready to Love was looking for them. So I don't think that some of these people were really even in a place in their life where they could really look for love. They were just in a place where some casting agents reached out and thought they would be a great pick because of their looks, right? So I think that's the problem. Cookie says, is OWN picking colorist men? Someone said in the comments that Dallas is colorist. Would like to know people's opinion who live there. I think that's a good question. If anyone in the chat lives in Dallas, please put that in the chat. I grew up in Tulsa, Oklahoma, which is not far from Dallas. It's like a 2-hour drive. And I can say that I did grow up around a lot of colorism. That part of the country was really does have a lot of colorism, especially considered to where I live now in Atlanta. So that's one of the things that I realized. I was like, when you come here as a Black woman, there's so much that is appreciated about Black women, from body shape to skin colors to the various shades to different hair textures and different hairstyles. So I do think that colorism is a bigger issue in some parts of the country than others. And I think Dallas could definitely be one of those places. But I don't think the answer is ever just casting all one skin tone. Like, oh my goodness, like that is so ridiculous. What is that telling little brown girls? Like, what is that? We just came through that. Like, who goes backwards? That doesn't, I say we just try to pick, I think they need to try to pick casts that understand that love is something that you have to be open to. And it may not come in a certain shade or a certain height or a certain, body type. You just have to be open. I think that's the problem to me with this show, is that people are coming, and that's what keeps people single. The fact that they want something extremely particular, be it a person to make a certain amount of money, or a certain height, or a certain class, or a certain education level, and they're rigid in their desire, and that's what keeps them single. I tell people, women, if you have a list over 5 things that are non-negotiable, then girl, you playing. Um, I think that, but I think Cookie, I think they have to be intentional about really asking men and finding men that are open to all types of women. I think that women also, um, okay, or cast all plus size because they always the first to go. I think that's another thing. I think there's definitely a certain standard that people tend to like. Felicia says, I live in Dallas. I don't feel that I have ever experienced colorism. My good friend, you probably wouldn't experience colorism because you're hella light skinned. Like, you're not going to experience it. You're not going to experience it. Tiffany says, what men are colorist this season? I live in Dallas. Jackson Noel says Dallas is not a colorist city. Um, I agree with Andromeda. Get people that are serious and not there to win a prize. Um, so Aries says that she did not hear any skin tone related comments while on the show. Not sure about others' experience. That. Thank you, Aries, for sharing that. Um, I don't know. I think people are going to speak from their experience. I will say that if you are fair skinned, then you may not recognize that there are colorist issues because that may not be your issue. Just like if there are ageist issues and you are young, you may not deal with them until you get older. If there are issues that people are being discriminated against because of size, if you are thin, you're not going to encounter those issues. Only people that are of a certain size will. So I think you have to be realistic, and say that. I also think that, I remember there was this comedy set that Monique did, and she was like, fat girls can talk about skinny girls, but skinny girls cannot talk about fat girls, right? So that's like a thing. And I think even Chris Rock said that, like, rich guys can talk about poor guys can talk about rich guys cannot talk about poor guys. So I think when it comes to this dark skinned females, brown skin or dark skinned females can say out loud that they feel like they're being biased against. I don't feel like fair skinned people often have a chance to say that because it just doesn't feel like they have a right to say that. So I would say, for me, I know growing up with a mother that was extremely fair skinned and having a daughter that's extremely fair skinned, my mother said that she's experienced um, colorism the reverse way, with darker skinned women being hateful towards her. So I think we do have to say something about this. Um, Low Key says, you may have already mentioned it, but do you believe the Q is genuinely interested in Janelle, or do they have a pact? I did mention that, and I do think that they have a pact. I also believe that Jessica does not present a soft side of her. I want to ask her that. I know that Jessica is scheduled to come on the show. I definitely want to ask her. I don't know if she signed up for the show or if she was cast for the show, but it'll be interesting to hear because she doesn't seem to really, she seems to have a hard time opening up. And I think that's a very, very common thing for career women and women that are very successful. It can be difficult to open up, but I would think that if you signed up for the show, that that's something that you are working on. And I think this is all a learning experience for all of us, even the people that seem to be, doing the most. I think this will be a learning experience for Janelle. Somebody put in the chat earlier that Janelle was cast by her agent. And her agent told her about it. I didn't know that, but that could explain why. That also could explain why she has very competitive energy. But I don't know. We'll just have to wait and see. Okay, I'm gonna post this comment. Tanea says, I'm the color of a Hershey's Kiss. I live in Dallas, over 20 years in Dallas. Black men and Black women are colorists. That's what I'm saying. Like, and so you can't deny that perspective from someone that's living it, right? There's no way you can deny that. I would assume that way because, like I said, I grew up near Dallas, and Oklahoma and Texas are very similar. And I did feel a lot of colorism in Oklahoma. So it makes sense that that would be the case. But I will say, I do think that we are moving away from that. But in progression, there has to be conversation and there has to be acknowledgement. And I think the facts, if you guys watch those shows, Dark Girls and Light Girls, that Bill Duke did, I think you'll see both sides were able to admit. And I love the fact that there were fair skinned women that acknowledged they did feel like they were preferred, right? That just acknowledging it and saying, yes, we understand is huge, right? And then figuring out how do we start to heal those wounds. Dee says Janelle should fire her agent because the show is making her a mean girl. I don't think the show is making her a mean girl. I think Janelle is just being maybe in a situation that's foreign to her. Sometimes the worst of us can come out, but I hope that she's taking this opportunity to learn from it, and be a better person, because I mean she's obviously a very successful woman, and it's just no reason for her to have, and if she is a Christian and does honestly believe in some of the things that she's saying she believes in, she has to know that her actions don't align with that. There's no way to say that you're a Christian and you believe in God and you reject tarot cards and all these other things, and then the first thing that comes out of your mouth is these girls are ugly ass bitches. Like, that just don't make sense, and she's got to know that. Sean, thank you for this comment. Sean says colorism has dominated African American life since the early 1900s. Look at our fraternities and sororities. Absolutely, absolutely, Sean. That's so true. And I feel like Spike Lee, like I said, was ahead of his time when he addressed that in School Days, but that was so long ago, and those things are still happening. And so I think that the conversation needs to happen again. Everybody needs to go watch School Days and then have a real conversation about it. I think that that is at the core of a lot of this, because even if something is happening on the show and some behavior is being allowed, right? Or someone's being permitted to act a certain way towards other people, even if in her brain she's not saying, I'm doing this because I'm better looking because of my skin tone, if other women are feeling that way because of how they're being treated as opposed to how she's being treated, it still warrants a conversation. It still warrants a conversation. And I think that we cannot say that it's not true in some areas. Like Candace Dillard spoke out about this. Wendy Osefo has on Real Housewives of Potomac. Like, these women aren't just lying. Like, there's some truth to this. And when we see, unfortunately, Daryl, that's true. When we see situations like Erica Mena getting angry and all of a sudden calling Spice, a darker skinned woman, a monkey, then we see, oh, wait a minute. You really do think that. This is really what is brewing below the surface, right? Daryl says many so-called Christians tend to be the biggest hypocrites. Unfortunately, you're right. You're absolutely right. You're absolutely right. But that's also why we have to be honest. We have to be honest about it and say, hey, that is not Christian behavior. If you're a Christian, you should not be co-signing that behavior, because it's not Christian-like. It's not Christian-like. Sean says, I'm an alpha, but the men that founded alpha came from middle-class Black families. Yeah, most of the sororities and fraternities were classist and colorist, right? So there was a big issue. And the problem with that is that was done at a time when Black people were pitted against each other. And so many of us were trying to prove that we were worthy of the white man's acceptance, right? So we were doing that to try to distance ourselves and disconnect from each other. We should not be in that place now. The fact that we're still there is really sad. It's really sad. And you're right. Ayla says, just because Janelle or anyone says that they're a Christian does not mean that they are. That's true. I'm just saying those people that are Christians need to speak out and say that's not what I represent. Well, I'm trying to think, is there anything else I wanted to cover? I definitely want to talk about Cierra. I want to talk about the situation with Katarina. I like her, and I really was hoping that we would find a match for her, but I don't see it happening. I didn't really think that Cierra would have one. I just don't feel like she really matched up with any of the guys. Jessica, I, I'll be honest. I really feel like Jessica and Maurer would probably be the closest to that. Um, yeah, that's about all I think. That's about all I think. Phil and Aries, obviously, and obviously Quentin and Janelle are going to go all the way. But other than that, this season is going to be very. Those are my final matches. Simplistic Grace. I think that obviously Janelle and Quentin, Aries and Phil. Um, I would say Maurer and Jessica, but I just don't see that working full time. Um, I don't think that Cierra and Herbert would have. I didn't see anybody that was there for Cierra. I just didn't. I think her personality needs a different type of guy. Um, Chris and Lee, I don't know. I don't know because, like I said, they look picture perfect together. I think all the women are beautiful. I think all the women on the show are beautiful. I think Aries is, I mean, just has a beautiful face, beautiful shape. Katarina is it looks like a model. Like I think all the women are beautiful. Lee looks like a little Barbie doll. My God, she just has like the perfect body and looks like a Barbie doll. Janelle has it's just beautiful. Like they're all the women are beautiful. Jessica is very beautiful as well. But just because people look good together doesn't mean that they belong together. So I think that not Jessica, but I think that Lee and Chris look good together, but I don't necessarily think that they belong together. I think that I don't know. Like I could see it, but I don't know that their lifestyles would match up later. Um, I think that a lot of people have been saying that Chris is very traditional, and I love the fact that he's very into his tradition, his culture. I think that is so dope. But I don't know if that would mesh with Lee. I just don't see her being able to mesh into that culture. That's my thing with that. Um, just being honest, I just don't know that that works. I think they would look cute together. I think they would probably work out cute together. But I think Chris really wants someone that's going to be able to really kind of mesh into his culture. And so that's going to be big. Actually, he and Katarina probably would have a better chance at that because of her having a little bit her, coming from a more cultural background with her family, but I don't really see them being a real match. Um, yeah, so that's why I don't really have a lot of hope for that. Quentin, someone said he may come back around to Lee. I don't think so. Like I think that they had that together from the beginning to make their to solidify the two of them in, and I don't see him coming back to Lee. Nor do I think Lee wants to do that. I don't think Lee wants to do it. Um, um, I don't think Jessica is attracted to Maurer either. I don't think that. I don't think that Jessica likes any of the guys, really. I think that her guy is out there, but I don't think that he's on this show. Um, and I think that I also think that when it's someone that you're not really into, it can be even more difficult to open up, but it's easy to open up when it's someone that's a good fit for you. Um, I'm not, her and Chris, I think that her biggest chemistry initially physically was Chris. And when that didn't work, I don't think there's been anybody else that she was into. Um, yeah, I just think that Cookie says Jessica needs a beta guy. Maybe, or maybe she just needs an alpha that understands her, you know, and that she really likes a lot. Because I think when a woman respects and likes a man a lot, he gets a different side of her. But when she doesn't, then that wall stays up, and then nobody's gonna want to jump that wall. Um, yes, Katarina did say her father was from Sierra Leone, and they actually had a conversation last week. Not this Friday, but the Friday before, about how they had similar upbringings as far as their culture. So she understands his culture. I think that's going to be really important for Chris. As Americanized as he is, and he's very attractive, but I just think he's going to need a woman that really um, is ready and understanding and 100% excited about conforming to his culture. Um, Alpha man is not going to put up with Jessica. I don't know. I think if Jessica had the man that she wanted, we may see a different side of Jessica. I think that I have a lot of alpha female friends, and a lot of them are straight alpha until the right man shows up. Right man shows up, and then you just see a different side. So I don't think that she is in the presence of her king. um, Chris needs a totally subservient woman. That I do think that could be true. I do think that could be true. I think he respects a woman that's working, but I think he wants a woman that is immediately going to put him first and like totally abandon what she has going on to make it about him. So there's nothing wrong with that. He just has to find that. That may not be on this show. May not be on the show. So I will be back on Monday, guys. And like I said, if you are interested in being a part of the conversation that we're having on colorism, two things, because I'm going to do this live and let people join the conversation. Number one, you have to be willing to be honest. You have to be willing to be honest. You have to be willing to just be transparent about your journey and about things that have hurt you, because we can't have a conversation if people aren't ready to be honest and open. So I'll post it, and you guys let me know. Like I said, I'm going to go live, and I'm going to post the link in the chat, and then we'll pick people to join. But I would love to have some people from the chat and some of the subscribers join the conversation, because I think it's so necessary. But with all this happening consistently, last season or the season before with Potomac, this thing with Erica Mena and Spice, and then Love and Hip Hop, like, and then Ready to Love, like, we have to talk about it. And I'm gonna also bring a African American women's studies professor on, so that we can have some conversation about this. Tamasha would be good. I think, I think I will hit her up and see if she wants to be a part of that conversation as well. But yeah, I want some people that really have something to say and can come from a real honest standpoint, even if it's something that other people don't want to hear, because I think that's super important. So anyway, thank you guys for hanging out. I don't have much hope for what we're going to see next week, but tune in on Monday. We'll talk to another cast member. And then remember, next Saturday, we're going to talk to Marvin, Freaky Marvin, and his beautiful woman about, how they met right after his process of Monday to Love and what they're into. But I love you guys for watching. Thank you so much, Tequila, for giving me a heads up. Thank you, Aries, for joining the conversation. We can't wait to talk to you. And everybody else that watched, thank you so much for tuning in. I love you guys. Have a beautiful Labor Day weekend. Enjoy your family. Enjoy your friends. See me here on Monday night at 8 o'clock with another Ready to Love cast member. But until then, enjoy yourself. Yes, thank you, Mwadi. Make sure that you like and share this video so that we can get some more opinions on this. And I'll see you guys on Monday.